going on YouTube? MotoFox here. Been a long time since I posted a video on YouTube. I figured finally out for the season for the first time. I'd go through some of the stuff I did on my bike this year because I know a bunch of you guys are probably interested in some of those mods. So let's get to it. Alright, so first up, the tank. I ended up getting a Clark tank, which I think is one of the only aftermarket manufacturers of XT350 tanks. It's a pretty cool tank, pretty happy with it. Made in the USA. Chain that in there. You guys will look down the tank, it's pretty good. Not sure if you can see anything, but yeah, it was pretty clear. A few defects on it, considering how much I paid for it. I mean, that was the only thing that kind of bothered me. This side's good, it's pretty clear. You can see no defects there, but this side's not great. I mean, they're the only company that makes tanks, so I'm not complaining. Much better than the stock steel tank. You can see my old tank over there. All right, the main mod that I did this season, you guys can probably tell, is the rear swing arm. Not only rear swing arm, but so this is the rear swing arm off the YZ250, which is the same bike that I got those, did the front fork conversion. Rear disc brake, and then my shock. Pull my cover off. I had to zip tie this side of the cover. You'll see why in a sec. Obviously a much bigger shock, much more aggressive shock. This is the shock from the YZ250 as well, which has a lot more adjustment. It's kind of tucked away up in there, but I can still get to it. For high speed dampening and low speed dampening, it's got the reservoir. It's way better than the XT350 stock shock. Swing arm is a little bit longer, so my rear wheelbase is a little bit wider now. And then this is also a 19-inch rim, so a 19-inch tire, so it's a little taller in the rear as well. Overall, it went pretty well. It was a lot of work to bird almost shat on me. It was a lot of work to get this rear swing arm in. First of all, I had to weld custom brackets to the frame, the lower one, and then also, you can't really see it, but the upper one, I had to cut away some of the plastic shroud. This is just a kill switch, and then this just charges my phone. I ordered smaller jets for, if anyone's following my mod for twin flat slide carbs, I had to order smaller jets because I even with the smallest jets I had, I couldn't get it to run great. So I got smaller jets coming. I'll put those back on, but for now, because I'm riding this weekend, I just got the stock carbs back on there. Yeah. So the upper mount on the frame had to change, the lower mount had to be custom. The actual bolt that goes through the pivot point of the rear swing arm is a different diameter on the YZ250. It's bigger. So what I did is, this is actually the XT350 bolt, and I just put bronze bushings inside the swing arm that take up the difference between the, I don't want to say numbers, but something like 18 mil to 22 mil difference there between the shafts. That meant I didn't have to drill these out because I was worried about drilling this out, not having enough meat left and material here. I didn't want to make custom brackets for that, so that actually ended up working out pretty well. And luckily, the engine that actually bolts through that pivot point fit perfectly, which I was like super fucking lucky about because I did not check that. I got a nice new chain. It's 520 chain now because the rear sprocket on the YZ250 is naturally a 520. Really happy about this rear brake, but this was also a bitch because obviously switching to this means I have to go to a hydraulic cylinder, which meant I had to make this pivot linkage. This pivot linkage all custom. This spring's kind of jank, but don't worry about it. This limit switch is kind of jank, but don't worry about it. Apart from that, just gonna jam back in there for now. All right, stay. Apart from that, the other thing I added was fans. I put two fans on. You can see one right here, one right here. They're bolted to not only the front of the frame, but also the tank from underneath. I actually have them wired directly to a little LiPo battery. You can see that I actually have a battery delete. You can see the corner of the LiPo in there, the yellow one. So I basically use like an RC LiPo 3-cell battery, but I have like a LiPo charge balancer in line with that, so it can still get charged from the engine. It can still charge, it won't overcharge. That BMS for the 3-cell battery management system is really tiny. It's just a small little circuit board. I had to wire, or I had to solder to, but it's worked pretty well so far. I used it last year too. Anyway, so these are wired directly to that anyway, so I can turn them on anytime. They're from the handlebars. I gotta switch up there. They're 12 volts, like rad fans for something. I don't know. We'll see how they hold up. I put meshes in front of it to hopefully help a little bit. This is not the best. I'll probably switch this out to metal mesh at some point. It's luckily enough to get a skid plate from someone off eBay in the middle of the winter, so I was happy about that. I really wanted a skid plate. They're kind of hard to find in decent shape. This one was actually in pretty decent shape. It had a lot of little scuffs and stuff, which I buffed out. And other than that, I painted it, and that's it. Some grease in it. I should have cleaned it. Not really much else to say. I did a video on my front end last year, so if you guys haven't seen that or you want to know about that front end conversion, check out my video on that. The funny thing about the rear conversion was I had to move the shock tower, the upper shock tower for the rear, back this way, which meant it actually helped a lot when I put on the flat slide carbs, the PZ20. I'll put it in the text below, but I can't remember what size they were again. Anyways, they fit perfectly with the filters, even better than the stock setup. So I'm looking forward to going back to those once I get those smaller jets in. The only other thing was, oh yeah, wheel weights. I got some sick ass bronze wheel weights, grass wheel weights, whatever. That look pretty cool, and these are new tires as well. Kenda Millville 2s. I'll let you guys know how they do. They're pretty aggressive. Technically this is street legal, but now I'm really hesitant to really put a lot of K on it on the street, apart from just going across county roads to hit different trails, because I don't want to wear these out too quickly. I'm hoping they're going to be a more aggressive tire there for what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to ride this year. But yeah, oh yeah, I have more shit I can show you. Up here, what I did was I kind of removed most of the dash from the stock XT350. So my lights now are actually embedded in the glass here. So that's neutral, that's high beam, neutral, turn signals, high beam. Speedo is up here, it's heads up display style. And then I switched to just a run leader tack, because the cable tack, I mean, it's great, but don't really have to look at it very often. The tack's kind of like secondary for me. It's nice to see your RPMs and everything, but it's not something that I wanted to keep with the original style just because of it worked. I mean, there was no issues with it, but I just didn't like the fact that it took any drag away from the engine. You can see I plugged where the tack cable comes in. I put RTV around this plug when I put it in, and it's secure, it's threaded through it. So that's not going anywhere. I'm not going to lose any oil or anything. And I know that's a very minimal amount of drag on the engine, but it was just something that I thought, you know what, if I can just get rid of it, why not just get rid of it if I don't need it? And minimize the dash as much as possible, take as much weight off as possible. It wasn't a ton of weight. I kept the original ignition, even though probably should have replaced that because this is pretty heavy, but for now it's okay. And I replaced the front headlight with this dinky ass LED, which draws way less amps. Obviously now all my bars are hydraulic, both my clutch and my front brake. Rear brake's hydraulic too. If you guys haven't seen this in my last video, this hydraulic conversion for clutch is key. Like this is probably one of my favorite conversions that I've ever done on a bike. And I would do this on any cable clutch bike moving forward, because it's great. It's basically, this is a tiny little master cylinder that pulls the clutch via that cylinder up there, that reservoir, whatever. And yeah, it really helps when you're riding for a long time because it's way less stress on your hand. Had to extend the kickstand because it's taller now, and so without this in it, it was like falling over. It wasn't working. So I just jank welded that. Don't worry, it's fine. So yeah, thanks for watching. Sub to my channel. I'll be posting more ride videos, and I'll let you guys know how this rides compared to the stock suspension. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you later.